We're at the book of Leviticus, chapter 4, Vayikra, chapter 4, and we are focusing on Chatat, which is the sin offering, otherwise called the carbonate in Hebrew. This is where we worship with SAX and we walk in Torah. So just subscribe for the Creator's presence through SAX and Torah. We're studying from Bereshit, Genesis to Devarim, Deuteronomy. There's a song that I want us to listen to a bit before we go and dive into the Word. That's a beautiful song, and hopefully I'll get to play some more near the end of this study. So we are on the book of Leviticus. I think we'd have started and we'd have looked at chapter 1, which deals with it dealt with the burnt offering, right? And we looked at the second offering, which was minka, right? But today we're looking at the sin offering, which is cleansing for unintentional guilt. So the first one was about approaching the Creator, korban ola. Second one was about devotion to Him, Leviticus chapter 2. And the third one was about, that we studied yesterday, was about shalamim, which is peace offering, fellowship. Everyone gets a chance to participate in that kind of offering. But once you're in fellowship, it requires purity. And so that's why it leads so perfectly into chapter 4. So we're going to do the readings, look at the readings, and we'll read the first 12 verses. It says, "And if that which he presents is a slaughtering of peace offerings, If he is bringing it to the herd, whether male or female, he brings a perfect one before the Creator. And he shall lay his hand on that's actually chapter 4. And the Creator spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, saying, When a being sins by mistake against any of the commands of the Creator, which are not to be done, any of them, if the anointed priest sins, bringing guilt on the people, then he shall bring to the Creator for his sin, which he has sinned, a young bull, a perfect one, as a sin offering. And he shall bring the bull to the door of the tent of appointment before the Creator, and shall lay his hand on the bull's head, and slay the bull before the Creator. Verse 5. And the anointed priest shall take some of the bull's blood, and bring it to the tent of appointment. And the priest shall dip his finger in the blood, and sprinkle some of the blood 7 times before the Creator in front of the veil of the set-apart place. And the priest shall put some of the blood on the horns of the slaughter, which is in the tent of appointment, and pour all the blood of the bull at the base of the slaughter place of the ascending offering, which is at the door of the tent of appointment. Then he takes all the fat of the bull as a sin offering, the fat that covers the entrails, and all the fat which is on the entrails, and the 2 kidneys, and the fat that is on them by the loins, and the appendage on the liver, which he removes with kidneys, as it was taken from the bull of the slaughtering of peace offerings. And the priest shall bring them on the slaughter place of the ascending offering. But the skin of the bull and all its flesh, with its head and legs, its entrails and dung, all of the bull he shall bring outside the camp to a clean place where the ashes are poured out, and burn it on the wood fire. Where the ashes are poured out is burned. So we see details of what is to be done whenever the priest's sins are being addressed. So we see in the first 2 verses that the Creator spoke to the anointed priest, right? The Mashiach, the Kohen HaMashiach, anointed, which really means anointed. And what he was required to do before he could actually serve any further, he must purify himself, just in case he has sinned unintentionally. And it's very important for us to point out that these sin offerings are not offerings to compensate for someone who has committed a murder, or someone who has done, grievous sins that are deserving of different kind of punishments, right? Those are mainly intentional. So for someone who takes the life of someone else, he cannot come and give an offering to escape his reward, right? And there's also other sins. For example, those who have stolen, they have to repay. They cannot give an offering to compensate for whatever they have stolen. So these offerings are not for intentional sins, right? There are certain sins as well where it's done. They are to get lashes, up to 39 lashes, depending on their state of health. This offering does not equate for that or substitute for that. So we're on to these offerings, which are sin offerings, and they are unintentional. Why would the priest need to offer? The verse actually says that, well, just in case that the sin actually, well, when you're in a leadership role, then you must lead by example, and the priest will just offer just in case he has sinned without knowing it. There are many commandments that we break from day to day, but we're not cognizant of it, right? So it's not an issue. So what is a priest to bring? He is to bring a bull on the altar, the mizbeach, the altar, right? And remember, I've emphasized that it's not the sacrificed animal that is important, and so anyone can do that. what is important is the blood, because there is life in the blood. So this blood is taken into the tent of appointment and scattered, thrown all around, as almost touching the curtains, based on how it is to be spread, how widely it is to be spread. Right. So that is the requirement of a priest, that he decides to make an offering just in case he has sinned and he's not aware of it. All right. So this blood, as I said, I've mentioned, it is spread towards the curtain. All the blood of the animal is spread towards the curtain. Right. And then thereafter, there is also in verse 7, it mentions that the priest, it shows that the priest has the highest accountability, because if anybody is to give an offering, he has to give first, based on his elevated spiritual role among the children of Israel. What part is to be burnt on the altar? It is all the fat. So all that part, the appendage, liver, the kidney, and all those parts that are mentioned in earlier instructions, those are required of the priest. And then there's verse 12. There is verse 12. Just want to bring up verse 12 to see what it says. It says, and all the bull he shall bring outside the camp to a clean place where the ashes are poured. So it is the ashes that are poured outside of the camp. And this is required for ritual cleansing. It is natural that we will think along the way, what is the importance of this and how it does apply to our current situation. Seeing that, those things are not really beneficial to the Creator. But the fact that it's an instruction that he gives us and we do it without even understanding it, that shows great faith and obedience. And I wish, for all those parents that have children that point them in a right or righteous way, and they don't understand, that they will just follow the parents, because when it is done, it goes as a sweet smelling savor to the parent. And so it is an aroma to our Creator as well. So that is what a leader does, right? He leads by example, because his actions affects all of Israel. We're going to read some more verses. We're going to read from 13 to 21. Let me just bring up that part. 13 to 21. We're moving on to the part that speaks to the congregation. So we've just addressed the part that what the priest is required to do. And this sin offering is appearing in 4 different parts. First, what the priest does, we're going to move on to the congregation, because there's also expectations of how the congregation reacts if they have, in a way, made any ruling that affect the well-being of their fellow Israelite. 13, and if the entire congregation is by mistake, and the matter has been hidden from the eyes of the assembly, and they have done against any of the commands of the Creator, which are not to be done, and shall be guilty. When the sin which they have sinned becomes known, then the assembly shall bring a young bull for the sin, and bring it before the tent of appointment. So this seemed to be just like what the priest was required to do. Is very identical. This bull that is brought, it must be a young one. Young, well, like 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Other than that, the bull would appear old, and it must be without blemish. So it must be tamim, without blemish, without spot. A perfect one. Right. So what is done with this young bull? It says, verse 14, verse 15, and the elders of the congregation shall lay their hands on the head of the bull before, and the bull shall be slain before the Creator, and that the anointed priest shall bring some of the bull's blood to the tent of appointment. Same thing, and the priest shall dip his finger in the blood and sprinkle it 7 times before the Creator in front of the veil, and put some of the blood on the horns of the slaughter place, which is before the Creator, which is in the tent of appointment, and pour all the blood at the base of the slaughter place of ascending offering, which is at the door of the tent of appointment. So even though we see both the congregation and the priest all making the same type of offering for unintentional sins, we should point to that the curtain is where, towards the curtain is where the one for the priest is spilled. While for this one, it is spilled towards the horn of the altar, and also towards the base, as it's mentioned in verse 18. So one is higher, so you have the hierarchy. The priest spills it towards the curtain, and the congregation spills it towards that which comes from the animal, is spilled towards the altar top and the floor. What does this really mean, and what does it say, and how can really the congregation on a whole be guilty of an unintentional sin? Well, there are rules in every institution, and it would have been run by the elders, and they would make up the court for the congregation, and so they may make rulings that affect in matters regarding civil duty and conflict. And it is possible that the court would have made wrong rulings, and just in case that is done, it is expected that a sin offering be poured out on behalf of the congregation, just in case they have made a wrong ruling. So that is just an example of how the elders of the congregation, they ensure that offerings are made on behalf of whatever they do, united as an administration. All right, so we're going to look at the subsequent verses 19 through to 21. Then he takes all the fat from it and shall burn it on the slaughter place, and he shall do with the bull as he did with the bull as a sin offering. So shall he do it, and the priest shall make an atonement for them, and it shall be forgiven them. So here we're seeing forgiveness is not a new thing, right? The Creator was always merciful and gracious, and extending mercy upon his people, and not to escape the punishment for any willful sinning that they have done, but just in case they have not, they are not aware. And so you'll realize that these offerings are voluntary, because it is being done not knowing the sin that they may have committed, but they do it just the same, right? So this is not something that is forced upon them, but whenever they do the sacrificing or the offering, it must be done specifically as how it is stipulated in the Torah. All right, so we're going to read to the next section now, which is the from verse 22. When a ruler sins and by mistake has done against any of the commands of the Creator, his Elohim, which are not to be done, and shall be guilty, or if his sin which he has sinned is made known to him, then he shall bring as his offering a buck of the goats, a male, a perfect one. So we'd have seen in other offerings, like for the peace offering, it can be both male and female, but we're the leader. We're talking about like kings, presidents, prime ministers. In their capacity, they are not all correct, right? So sometimes they act as if they are, but they must also make an offering just in case they have committed sins that they're not cognizant of. What is the offering that he is to make? A buck of the goat, a male, a perfect one. The word for leader in Hebrew is nasi. Right, so the nasi, if he sins, well, he sins, right? So his offering, his korban, must be a male goat, and a tamim, which is an unblemished one. Where is the blood sprinkled for this particular category? Because we have gone through the priests, the congregation. Now we're at the king, and there are other levels. And the priest shall take some of the blood of the sin offering with his finger, and shall put it on the horns of the slaughter place of ascending offering, and pour its blood at the base of the slaughter place of ascending offering, and burn all its fat on the slaughtering of the peace offerings. And the priest shall make atonement for him for his sin, and it shall be forgiven him. So that's the other category, where leaders must take accountability. We note that the blood is applied is different from it's being applied for the congregation and for the priest. It is applied with the fingers as opposed to being dashed towards the curtain side, and it's actually done. This is actually done on the north side, right? We must point out, I'll just make a reference in Leviticus chapter 1, verse 11, says, they are an abomination to you. Of their flesh you do not eat, and their carcasses you do not eat. So the text I was trying to find was basically one that tells you that you must have good intentions when you give the offering, because if you make an offering and your heart is not right, then it is not acceptable. Doesn't matter what it is. It is not acceptable. So it must be of very sincere intent. Verse 23 actually highlights it. Or if his sin which he has sinned is made known to him, then he shall bring as his offering a buck of the goats, a male, a perfect one. So if it is made known to him, so in other words, it's pointed out that he must accept that he has sinned. Verse 26, we had stopped at 25. It says, and burn all its fat on the slaughter place, like the fat of the slaughtering of the peace offerings, and the priest shall make atonement for him for his sin, and it shall be forgiven him. So it is the priest that will apply the blood, right? And that is, of course, they can come to a certain point, but they cannot go beyond into the holiest or holy, holiest of holiest part of the Mishkan. Right. What does this mean for us? Because we're not a priest, we're not a congregation, we're not a king. But what we should know, that this must be done with the right motives, the right purpose. We're not to be corrupt in making our offerings. 24 says that he shall lay his hand on the head of the goat and slay it at the point. So in other words, when you put your hand on the animal, it's actually saying that you're actually saying, this is my animal and this is what I am offering. So that laying of hand on the head is just taking ownership of what your offering is being submitted. We have a final section to go, which is the individual, a normal common man like myself, not a priest, not a king. What do I do just in case I have sinned or wronged someone and I'm not aware of it? This was the practice. Let's read it. 27 to 35. And if any being of the people of the land sins by mistake by doing against any of the commands of the Creator which are not to be done, and shall be guilty, or if his sin which he has sinned shall be made known to him, then he shall bring us his offering, a female goat, a perfect one, for his sin which he has sinned. And he shall lay his hand on the head of the sin offering and slay the sin offering at the place of the ascending offering. And the priest shall take some of his blood with his finger and shall put it on the horns of the slaughter place of ascending offering, and pour all the blood at the base of the slaughter place. Then remove all its fat, as fat is removed from the slaughtering of peace offerings. And the priest shall burn it on the slaughter place for a sweet fragrance to the Creator. And the priest shall make atonement for him, and it shall be forgiven him. And if he brings a lamb as a sin offering, he brings a female, a perfect one. And he shall lay his hand on the head of the sin offering and slay it as a sin offering at the place where they slay their sinning offering. And the priest shall take some of the blood of the sin offering with his finger, and shall put it on the horns of the slaughter place of ascending offering, and pour all the blood at the base of the slaughter place. Then he removes all its fat, as the fat of the lamb is removed from the slaughtering of the place of peace offering. And the priest shall burn it on the slaughter place according to the fire offerings to the Creator. So the priest shall make atonement for his sin, that he has sinned, and it shall be forgiven him. So an ordinary person like me, I must bring my offering for my unknown sins, not the ones that I have deliberately done against my Creator or against my fellow brother or sister. This person gets to offer a female or a lamb, right? As it's mentioned, it says peace offering, right? Because for peace offering, you can do both male or female, right? Like everyone, he must lean his hand on it to claim that it is his being offered. This is done on the north side of the altar, and this blood is not dashed all around as for when the priest is doing his personal one, but he uses his finger and lays it at the base only at the altar, as it's mentioned and highlighted in verse 30. Those who don't have a goat can also do a lamb. Verse 32 actually tells you that if he brings a lamb, so he can bring a lamb, not necessarily just a goat. So there are options, and that's very good, especially for those persons who have limited economic means. So we see the offerings, the 4 different categories, and what we realize is that the congregation sometimes, well, it would have been led by the high priest, and the ordinary man would have been led by the king or the leader of that time. The Creator, what we can glean from this section is that the Creator, he always requires unblemished, the tamim offering, korban offering, and it is the blood that is used to be spread around the base of the altar, right? Regular persons like me and you, we all repent, but sometimes we will err, and sometimes we will err gravely or greatly, right? But whatever we do, when we come to make an offering to the Creator, we must do it with a pure conscience and a pure purpose, right? So that is what is required of us. So we have covered some important keywords in this study. We have looked at offerings, we have looked at which is korban, we have looked at tamim, which is unblemished, we have looked at blood, which in Hebrew is dam, There's a part that was had mentioned that it was a sweet smelling savor to the Creator. Right, so intent is very important. We're not to end this study without ensuring that it is our intent that helps to validate our offering. And when what the ashes that is burned is taken outside of the camp. So sin is not something we want in our space and in our place, and we must at all times make every effort to ensure to rid our environment of sinful practices, and to ensure that we are able to fellowship in a clean and righteous manner. Leadership, just to recap, leadership is key. Leadership must start from the front at the highest level, right? And it's a matter of establishing purity, right? And we must all have an offering. Everybody, there are 4 different offerings, and so no one is excluded from giving an offering. So we will continue to walk in Torah by studying words of the Creator. There was this quick quiz that I wanted to share. I don't know if I can get it up right now. Okay, it is, well, it says the ceremony of fellowship requires purity, and we see the order highlighted. The priest, his offering is spread on the curtain. Congregation, bull and goat is used. The blood from the animal for the leader goes on the altar, and for the common man it goes on the base. So we see an hierarchy of the blood progression from the curtain to the horns to the base, and shows authority. Now for the difficult quiz section of our study. Which requires blood toward curtain? Is it the leader, the priest, the common, or the congregation animal? Which of the blood of these, which animal's blood goes towards the curtain? Okay. Then the next one, so your answer is A, B, or C, or D. And the other one is Numbers 15 specifies, but we didn't read number 15, so we'll pass on that. But what invalidates the sin? Is it wrong gender, wrong intent, missing fat, or salt slaughter? And the answer for all of these is B. In summary, any of commandments of the Creator broken unintentionally, an offering, a sin offering must be sent up, which is korban chatat. Chatat, the root word is, it means sin, right? The priest, he can actually unknowingly bring guilt on the people based on his role and the direction he leads them into. Also, the congregation may sin without knowledge, and so they also offer an offering just like the priest does. The leader, he offers a male goat sin offering, and common person offers a female goat. So it's the same process. So thank you for, it's very interesting that we learn so much about the children of Israel, and how the Creator instructs them in every way for them to have a happier life. All right, I'm going to just to head out. I'm going to play this song, part of this song that we've started, as this is the place in AsahxMusic Torah studio where we worship with saxophone and we walk in Torah.